They say love can make you blind, but sometimes it makes you see things you wish you never did. You think you know the person sleeping beside you until one night you realize you don't even know who they are. These aren't stories about heartbreak. They're stories about fear, control, and the monsters that hide behind familiar faces. Sometimes the danger doesn't come from what's outside your home. It comes from the one who says they love you. From secret obsessions to unseen darkness, these tales will make you question every smile, every "I love you," and every promise that felt too good to be true. So, lock your doors, keep the lights low, and listen closely. Because tonight, love turns into something far more terrifying. Welcome to Veil of Dread Horror Stories. Subscribe if you dare to trust anyone again. Story 1. The Apartment Key. I never thought I'd be afraid of the woman I loved, but that changed the night I found the second key. When I first met Clara, she was quiet, almost shy, the kind of girl who always listened more than she spoke. We met through a mutual friend, and from the first night, I was drawn to her calm energy. She was sweet, organized, soft-spoken, and I guess that's what made me trust her so fast. Too fast. Within 3 months, she was spending most nights at my place. She'd bring groceries, tidy up, even leave little notes for me on the kitchen counter. It all felt so normal, so perfect, until it didn't. It started with the small things. A drawer that was closed differently, a chair slightly turned, my phone battery draining overnight, though I'd barely touched it. I thought I was just tired. Work had been rough, and Clara had a tendency to fuss over me, checking on my schedule, reminding me to eat, texting me every hour when I was at the office. I brushed it off as her way of caring, but one night I came home earlier than usual, and that's when I noticed the door. It was locked from the inside. I heard movement, soft footsteps, a faint shuffle, then silence. When I called Clara's name, there was no answer. I unlocked the door with my key, heart pounding, and stepped inside. Everything looked normal, except the bedroom window was open, and Clara wasn't there. She came back an hour later, smiling like nothing happened. When I asked where she'd been, she said she'd gone for a walk. But there was something off in her voice, too calm, too rehearsed. The next morning I decided to check the building's security footage. The cameras outside my apartment caught her leaving just a few minutes after I'd left for work, then returning almost 2 hours later, carrying a small duffel bag. That wasn't strange by itself, until I saw her unlock my door with a key I never gave her. I confronted her that night. She laughed at first, said she'd made a copy in case of emergency, but when I asked why she never told me, her smile faded. Her expression changed, distant, almost cold. "You wouldn't understand," she whispered. "Understand what?" I asked. "That some doors aren't meant to stay locked." The next few days were hell. She stopped answering calls, but I'd find little signs she'd been around. Dishes moved, my toothbrush wet, the smell of her perfume in the hallway. She'd been inside. One night I came home late and saw a shape standing near the bedroom window. My heart froze. I turned on the light, and there she was, Clara, pale and trembling, staring at the wall like she didn't even hear me come in. I shouted her name. She turned, slow and lifeless. "I wanted to see if it still opened," she said softly. "What opened?" I asked, keeping my distance. "The door in the wall," she murmured. I thought she was joking or maybe sleepwalking, But when I looked closer, I saw it, a faint rectangular outline behind the wallpaper, like a sealed door. I tore the wallpaper away, expecting solid concrete behind it. But no, there was a metal latch embedded into the wall. I pulled it, and the wall opened. Behind it was a narrow, hidden crawl space, pitch black and freezing. The smell hit me first, damp, old, and metallic. Then I saw something glinting in the darkness. A row of photos. They were taped to the wall, pictures of me, sleeping, eating, working at my desk, dozens of them, taken from inside my apartment, over months. And in the corner of every single photo, Clara's reflection. When I turned back around, she was crying. "You weren't supposed to find it," she whispered. I didn't know what to say. Fear and confusion fought inside me. But before I could move, she stepped closer. "I needed to protect you," she said. "They told me to watch you, to make sure you stayed." "Who told you that?" I asked. She didn't answer. Instead, she reached into her pocket and held up the second key, the one I'd seen on the footage. Only this time, it wasn't mine. It was old, tarnished, engraved with something faint. A date. The date we met. That night, I called the police. When they searched the crawl space, they found a small camera, a voice recorder, and a box filled with labeled USB drives, all with my name. But Clara was gone. No trace, no leads, nothing. 2 weeks later, I got a small envelope in the mail. No return address. Inside was the same old key, and a note written in her handwriting. "Some doors stay open forever." I moved out that night. But sometimes, when I turn off the lights, I swear I hear the sound of a key turning in the lock. And I know she's still watching. Story 2, the phone that wouldn't stop ringing. It started with a single missed call, then another, and another, all from the same number, one I thought I knew better than anyone. Her name was Lena. We'd been together almost a year, the kind of relationship that looks perfect from the outside. Photos, laughter, matching coffee mugs. But underneath, things were off. She was the kind of person who needed to know everything. Where I was, who I talked to, what I was thinking. I used to think it was love. Looking back, it was control. One night my phone buzzed at 2:47 a.m. It was Lena. She said she couldn't sleep and wanted to hear my voice. Half asleep, I told her to rest and hung up. But the moment I did, the phone rang again. Same number. When I answered, I heard breathing. Not hers. Slower. Heavier. Then a whisper. "Why'd you hang up on me?" I froze. The voice was Lena's, but distorted, almost like two people were speaking at once. I hung up again, heart pounding. The phone rang 4 more times that night. I didn't answer. The next morning I went to her apartment. She opened the door, smiling like nothing happened. When I told her about the calls, she laughed, said she'd been asleep all night. To prove it, she showed me her call log. No calls to me, no missed calls, nothing. I tried to shake it off, but that night it happened again. The same number, the same whisper. "Don't ignore me this time." I blocked the number. Then I unplugged the phone entirely. But at 3 a.m., it rang again. The screen was black. No number. Just one word. "Lena." I threw the phone across the room. The ringing stopped until I went to pick it up. A new message flashed on the screen. "Why'd you break my gift?" I never told her, but that phone, it was a gift from her. She'd given it to me on our 6-month anniversary, saying, "Now we'll always be connected." That night, I left the phone on the counter and tried to sleep. At 3:03, the ringing started again, louder this time. But it wasn't coming from the phone. It was coming from inside the closet. I opened it slowly, every hair on my neck standing. There, hanging from the coat rack, was my old phone, the one I'd thrown away months ago. Its cracked screen was glowing, and the name flashing on it was still Lena. My hands were shaking when I picked it up. A voicemail notification blinked. I hit play. "You shouldn't have left me alone." The voice wasn't coming from the phone speaker. It was coming from behind me. I turned, and she was standing in the dark hallway, face pale, eyes wide, holding her own phone to her ear. "You hear it too, don't you?" she whispered. "It doesn't stop calling me either." I called the police that night. They searched the apartment, found no second phone, but they did find something else. Dozens of small sticky notes under my mattress, all in her handwriting. "Answer when I call. Don't ignore me, you promised." She was taken for psychiatric evaluation a week later. I thought it was over, until last month. I got a new phone, new number, new provider. No one had it except my sister. At 3 a.m., it rang. Unknown number. When I answered, the voice was faint, but unmistakable. "You still haven't said goodbye." I dropped the phone. It kept ringing even after I pulled the battery out, like the sound wasn't coming from the phone anymore. Now, every night at 3 a.m., I hear it again. No caller ID, no escape. Just that same voice, whispering from somewhere close, "Pick up." Story 3. The diary under her bed. I never thought I'd regret looking under her bed. Her name was Emily. We met in college, and she was everything I wanted. Funny, attentive, beautiful, in a way that made the world quiet when she smiled. We moved in together after 6 months, and everything seemed perfect until I found the diary. It started as curiosity. Emily was private, always had been. She never let me touch her laptop or read her journals. I thought that was normal. Everyone has secrets. But one night, she fell asleep on the couch while I was reading. I heard her murmur in her sleep, calling a name I didn't know. Tommy. I asked her about it the next morning. She laughed, said it was a dream. I let it go. Weeks passed. Strange things started happening. I'd come home, and the apartment would smell faintly of perfume. Not hers, something older, heavier. I'd hear whispers when I was alone, soft voices just beyond comprehension. One night, Emily was out visiting her friend. The apartment was silent, except for the hum of the refrigerator. I was cleaning and decided, almost on a whim, to peek under the bed. At first, nothing. Dust bunnies, shoes, the usual clutter. Then I saw it, a corner of a notebook, frayed and old. I pulled it out. It was her diary, but it didn't look like any diary I'd seen. The cover was worn, leather-bound, and the pages were filled with tiny, neat handwriting. Except it wasn't her handwriting. The entries were dated before she'd even been born. I flipped through them, and my stomach sank. They described someone living in the apartment, watching, following, waiting. Names were mentioned, dates, times. Then I saw my name. "He sleeps alone tonight. I will watch. The lights flicker, but he does not see me. Emily trusts me. He will too, soon." The entries continued, page after page. Everything I did, every time I was alone, it had been written down. I didn't know what to do. I called Emily. She answered immediately, cheerful, oblivious. I asked her about the diary. She froze. "Diary? What diary?" I told her I found it under the bed. She laughed it off, said she didn't even know it was there. But her eyes flicked toward the bed, tense, nervous. That night I couldn't sleep. Every creak of the apartment made me jump. I kept imagining someone moving just beyond my vision. At 2:58 a.m., I heard it, a soft scratching coming from under the bed. I grabbed a flashlight and shone it. Nothing, just dust and the diary lying there innocently. Then I heard a whisper right next to my ear. "You shouldn't have looked." I spun around. Emily was standing there, pale, eyes wide, holding the diary. "I don't know what you mean," she said, voice trembling. I realized something horrible. The diary wasn't hers, it was someone else's, and it had been here the whole time. Every night since she moved in, someone had been watching me. The diary chronicled my life, my habits, my alone moments, and Emily. She wasn't protecting me. She was the only reason I hadn't seen them sooner. I moved out that night, left everything behind. Emily didn't stop me, didn't call, didn't chase. Months later, I got a text from her number. Just one line. "I miss you. He misses you too." I never called back. But sometimes, when I walk past an apartment building, I feel someone watching. And I know, if I'd stayed one more night, the diary would have been updated with my final entry.